Chosen one, heaven just released a supernatural wave of rest over your life. Have you been feeling worn out, mentally, emotionally, even when you haven't done anything physically exhausting? Have you found yourself asking, why am I so tired all the time? This isn't just normal fatigue. It's something deeper, something sacred. The exhaustion you've been fighting is actually the evidence that God is rebuilding you from the inside out. The fatigue you've been resisting just became the proof you've been praying for. You haven't lost your strength. You're being recalibrated. The version of you that's emerging can't carry the old mindset, the old rhythms, or the old energy. That's why your soul feels like it's shutting down what no longer fits where you're going. And even though you may not see it clearly yet, heaven is actively working behind the scenes. This isn't chaos, it's construction. You are not being broken down. You are being prepared. You're not stuck. You're in transition. Chosen one, this is not the end of your story. It's a divine signal. Maybe you're in a season where you feel like everything's heavy, unclear, and slow. But what if that weight you feel isn't failure? What if it's God marking you, preparing you, and repositioning you? You're not collapsing. You're being called. So don't ignore the fatigue. Don't numb it. Don't rush through it. Lean into it. Heaven is trying to get your attention. You didn't land here by accident. You were led here right now because it's time to stop questioning the exhaustion and start listening to what it's telling you. Type 777 in the comments as a spiritual signature, a sacred agreement with heaven. This simple act of alignment could activate miracles in your life. God doesn't drain his chosen ones without reason. That line may sound heavy, but if you're feeling exhausted lately, I want you to hold on to it. I want you to sit with it for a moment, because the truth is the weight you're carrying, the weariness in your body, in your heart, in your spirit, is not random. It's not punishment. It's not a weakness. It's a divine sign that God is doing something deep in you, something sacred, something lasting. He's marking you. Not everyone will understand this kind of weariness. It's not just being tired after a long day. It's not just feeling drained from stress. This is soul deep. This is that kind of exhaustion that sits in your chest when you're in a season of transition. But you can't see the other side yet. And for many of us, especially as we get older, this feeling can creep in unexpectedly. Maybe you've raised your kids and they've moved on, and now the house feels quiet in a way that hurts. Maybe you've stepped out of the career that once gave your life structure, and now your days feel wide open but oddly meaningless. Or maybe you're caring for someone you love, a spouse, a parent, a child, and every part of you is poured out. Yet you still feel guilty for being tired. That kind of fatigue isn't a flaw. It's not failure. It's the signal that God is shifting something. You are not the same person you were 10 years ago, and you're not supposed to be. He's preparing you. Preparation rarely looks pretty. It rarely feels peaceful. Often it looks exactly like what you're experiencing right now: confusion, stillness, tiredness that doesn't make sense, prayers that feel like they hit the ceiling. And yet, under the surface, something is being rebuilt. You are being repositioned. That word repositioned may feel unfamiliar, but it's exactly what's happening. When God repositions someone, he doesn't just change their surroundings, he changes their posture, their perspective, and their purpose. The things that used to drive you don't work anymore. The things that used to comfort you feel empty. The plans you made don't feel quite right now. That's not by accident. That's holy tension. That's God nudging you into a new place, a new role, a new identity in him. And that's why this kind of fatigue feels different. Because it is. It's not weakness. Your weariness moved from weakness to weapon. That's not just a poetic line. That's truth There's a reason you've been able to comfort others lately, even when you haven't had much left for yourself. There's a reason your words carry more weight now than they used to. There's a reason people are drawn to you for wisdom, for calm, for strength. It's because your pain has carved out space for deeper presence. And your exhaustion has become a witness, a living testimony that you've been through something with God. You've walked through nights where sleep didn't come easy. You've carried burdens others never saw. You've kept showing up even when your soul whispered, "I don't know how much longer I can do this." And yet, you're still here. That's not weakness. That's warfare. That's what it looks like to live with faith when you're tired. That's what it means to worship when nothing feels clear. That's how weariness becomes a weapon, because the enemy cannot stop someone who keeps showing up to the altar even when they feel empty. Listen, this season you're in, it's not forever, but it is for something. There's a purpose to the stretching. There's purpose in the silence. There's purpose in the discomfort. It's all part of the process of being made ready for what's next. And for many of us, what's next won't look like what was. It'll require a new strength, a clearer mind, a healed soul. That's why you feel like you're being emptied, because heaven is making room. God doesn't waste time on people He isn't going to use. He doesn't break what He doesn't plan to rebuild. And He certainly doesn't allow fatigue to flood your life, unless He's using it to strip away what's been holding you back. He's not just refreshing you, He's refining you. So if you're walking through days where you feel like you're at your limit, where you feel like you can't keep going, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. You are not forgotten. You are being marked. You are not lost. You are being repositioned. And yes, your weariness has moved from weakness to weapon. It may not look like it from the outside. You may not have a spotlight on your story. But heaven sees the quiet victories. Heaven sees the nights you didn't give up. Heaven sees the tears you didn't explain. Heaven sees the strength it took just to keep believing. You are being built up for something your old self could never carry. There's a version of you emerging that walks in greater wisdom, greater stillness, greater authority. The pain, the pause, the pull, it's not in vain. This is the part of your life where roots grow deeper, where faith matures, where obedience becomes less about feeling and more about trust, where you finally stop striving and start abiding. That's why it feels heavy right now. That's why your body and mind are calling for rest, even when you're not doing that much. Because spiritual transition always manifests physically. Your soul knows what your calendar hasn't caught up with this season is different. So if you've been questioning why everything feels off, why nothing seems to fit, why your body is tired and your heart is restless, now you know. It's not burnout. It's not failure. It's God lovingly and precisely removing what doesn't serve the next chapter. He's not draining you to leave you dry. He's draining you to fill you with something fresh, something real, something permanent. Chosen one, this moment in your life is not random. It's not meaningless. And it's not small. God doesn't drain His chosen ones without reason. He's marking you. He's preparing you. He's repositioning you. And through it all, your weariness, this very moment of weakness, has become your weapon. Don't waste it. Don't run from it. Lean in. Let the exhaustion speak. Let heaven work. And let this moment change you. You didn't stumble upon this message by chance. Let's be clear about that. You're here right now, not randomly, not accidentally, but by design. Something brought you to this moment, to these words, at this exact point in your life. Maybe you're watching this after a restless night. Maybe you're in your car just trying to keep your mind from spiraling. Or maybe you've been walking through a season that doesn't make sense, where everything feels just a little too heavy, a little too unclear. This isn't random. This is divine alignment. Your body demands rest, even when you haven't done anything physically exhausting. That line hits differently, doesn't it? Because lately you've been tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. You wake up drained. You move through the day like you're carrying invisible weight. You pause in the middle of things and wonder, why do I feel like this? It's because your spirit is carrying what your schedule can't explain. This is not just exhaustion. This is reconstruction. You are not collapsing. You are being reconstructed. And yes, it's uncomfortable. It's disorienting. It feels like everything that once felt stable is now shaking loose. But that's what reconstruction is. It's not collapse, it's change. It's not destruction, it's preparation. Think about a home undergoing major renovation. Before it can be made, new parts of it have to be torn down. Walls get opened up, floors get pulled up, wiring gets redone. The space looks worse before it looks better. The structure doesn't fail, it shifts. The same thing is happening to you. God is rebuilding you from the inside out. And when God reconstructs something, He doesn't just repaint the surface. He goes deeper. He gets into the foundations. He exposes cracks that were hidden. He removes what no longer holds. He adds strength where things have been worn thin. And that's what makes this season so hard. You're being restructured for what's coming. It is a divine signal that heaven has initiated something monumental in your life. Let those words sink in. This isn't small. This isn't random. This isn't meaningless. Something monumental is being set in motion inside you, something that your old ways of thinking, living, and moving can't carry into the next season. So heaven is stepping in and saying, let's rebuild this. Not to hurt you, but to ready you. This is not burnout. It's blueprint revision. You've been walking with an old rhythm. You've been carrying dreams shaped for a version of you that no longer exists. You've been living with assumptions and systems that used to work, but now they exhaust you. That's the signal. That's the warning light. It's not time to push harder. It's time to pause and recognize God is shifting the structure. He's upgrading your internal framework so that you can hold more peace, more purpose, more clarity. And that kind of transformation never happens without pressure, without tension, without a stretch. But hear this clearly, this tension isn't here to destroy you. It's here to develop you. God is closing the door on who you used to be. That may feel like loss, but it's actually mercy. Some of the things you've been grieving lately, opportunities that disappeared, people who drifted, doors that didn't open, weren't failures. They were closures. Not every closed door is an attack. Some of them are protection. When God closes a door, it's because He's redirecting your energy. He's cutting off access to what no longer aligns with where He's taking you. Maybe you've been feeling that loss deeply. You look at old photos and feel a strange distance from who you were. You walk through your house and feel like a guest in your own life. That's not you losing yourself. That's heaven transitioning you from who you were to who you're becoming. It's not always loud. It's not always obvious. But it's happening. And it's holy. Just like a gardener pruning a plant, God is trimming back things in your life, not to damage you, but to help you grow better. The pruning looks harsh. It feels like you're being reduced. But in truth, you're being refined. And what comes next will be stronger, fuller, more fruitful. You're not falling apart. You're being reformed. Let me say it another way. You're not getting weaker, you're getting clearer. This season is stripping off the things that distracted you, the things that drained you, the things that no longer fit the purpose planted in you. That's why you feel raw. That's why you're suddenly sensitive to things you used to tolerate. That's why your spirit reacts differently to the same situations. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. You're being restructured. The foundation is shifting to support more weight. The blueprint is changing to prepare you for more impact. And just like a house under renovation may look unlivable for a season, your life may feel unrecognizable right now. But stay with it. Stay in the process. Don't walk away in the middle of the rebuild. Because what God is building in you is worth every moment of confusion, every ounce of discomfort, every drop of delay. This is holy work. So what does that mean for you today? It means you don't need to fight the tiredness. You don't need to prove your strength. You don't need to hide your questions. You need to rest in the truth that this exhaustion is sacred. This isn't weakness. This is rewiring. This isn't failure. This is foundation work. You didn't stumble upon this message by chance. God knew you would need this word at this exact moment because He knew you'd start to wonder if something was wrong with you. He knew you'd feel like you were unraveling. He knew you'd think about going back to what felt comfortable even if it no longer fit. But He also knew you were ready. Ready to grow. Ready to shift. Ready to step into something so new, so much more aligned, that it would require everything in you to be rebuilt. So don't fear the fatigue. Don't panic in the pruning. Don't question the closing of doors. Something sacred is being shaped. And the heaviness you feel today, it's not a sign that you're collapsing. It's confirmation that you're being reconstructed. He restores my soul. Psalm 23:3. Just 5 words, but they carry the weight of an entire season. Right now, you may not feel restored. You may feel undone, disoriented, tired in a way that doesn't seem fair. You haven't run a marathon, but your spirit feels like it's out of breath. You haven't been through a physical storm, but emotionally, it feels like everything inside you is scattered. So what does that verse really mean? What does it mean when God says, "I restore your soul"? Especially when your soul doesn't feel restored. Let's sit with that for a moment. Restoration isn't just about going back to how things used to be. It's not about rewinding. It's not about pretending nothing ever broke. Real restoration is deeper than that. It means healing what was damaged. It means realigning what got out of place. It means recovering what lifetime or people tried to steal from you. And most of all, it means becoming whole again, even if you don't feel like yourself right now. God doesn't just want to refresh you. He wants to restore you. To restore something means to return it to its original strength, its original purpose, and sometimes to make it even better than before. And that's exactly what's happening in this season, even if you don't see it yet. God is activating a new version of you. Not a shinier version, not a busier version, a deeper one, a steadier one, a wiser one. And that kind of work happens below the surface. Ask yourself honestly, do you feel like you're being reset? Because that's what it feels like when God restores a soul. It's like everything shuts down temporarily. Old systems stop responding. Your usual energy's gone. Things that used to fulfill you feel flat. Things that used to make sense don't anymore. That's not regression. That's reset. That's the beginning of something new. You see, restoration often starts with rest. And not just sleep, but soul-level rest. The kind of rest where God silences the noise, calms the pace, and pulls you away from what used to distract you. It may feel like you're being slowed down, but you're actually being set apart. Let's go back to Psalm 23 for a moment. We quote it often, but do we actually feel it? The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Did you notice something? Restoration didn't come after striving. It came after stillness. He makes you lie down. He leads you beside still waters. And then He restores your soul. Sometimes God won't wait for you to slow down. He'll slow you down himself, not to punish you, but to protect you. Because your soul matters more to him than your schedule. You may not have chosen this pause, this exhaustion, this slowing, but what if it's not an interruption? What if it's the invitation you didn't know you needed to be restored? Let's talk about Elijah. In 1 Kings 19, Elijah had just finished one of the most powerful spiritual victories in the Bible. Fire from heaven, a demonstration of God's power. But right after that, he crashes. He runs into the wilderness, emotionally drained, mentally overwhelmed, and spiritually exhausted. He lies under a broom tree and says, "God, I've had enough." Have you ever said that, "God, I've had enough. I can't do this anymore. I don't have the strength. I'm tired in ways I can't explain." And what did God do? Did he scold Elijah for being dramatic? Did he tell him to toughen up and get back to work? No. God sent an angel to touch him gently and say, "Get up and eat." Then he let him sleep again. Then he fed him again. No lectures, no shame, just rest. Food, silence, care. Why? Because God wasn't finished with Elijah, but he knew Elijah needed restoration before he could continue. The same is true for you. You are not done. You are not broken beyond repair. But God is not going to push you through this season on fumes. He's going to fill you, feed you, let you rest. Why? Because there is still more ahead. But before you walk into that next season, your soul must be restored. This is not a punishment. It's preparation. And maybe no one sees what you're walking through. Maybe they don't understand why you've pulled back a little, why you're quieter than usual, why you're not showing up like before. That's okay. They don't need to understand your rest. Because heaven does. God sees what you need. And he's already working on it. He's restoring your soul in the silence, in the slow days, in the still mornings, in the quiet prayers, in the moments when you feel invisible. He's doing his most invisible work. So what does soul restoration look like in real life? Sometimes it looks like suddenly needing more time alone. Sometimes it looks like closing old doors that used to feel safe. Sometimes it looks like crying without knowing exactly why. Sometimes it looks like laughing again after months of feeling numb. It's the feeling of being slowly rebuilt from the inside out. One layer at a time. You begin to think differently. You feel lighter even if nothing outside you has changed. You respond instead of reacting. You breathe slower, sleep deeper, listen longer. You stop running toward noise and start leaning into peace. And then one day you look back and realize, I'm not who I was. I'm still healing, but I'm no longer in survival mode. I'm becoming someone I never had time to be before. That's restoration. And it begins with rest. So if your body is tired, if your emotions are fragile, if your spirit feels like it's in limbo, it's okay. You are not stuck. You are not backsliding. You are being restored right now in ways you don't fully see but will one day thank God for. He restores your soul. That's not just a line in a psalm. That's a promise, a process. And today it's yours. You were never meant to carry this alone. Let that sink in, not just as a comforting phrase, but as truth. Whatever weight you're carrying right now, whatever stress is sitting on your chest, whatever thoughts have been racing through your mind at night, you were never meant to handle all of it by yourself. God didn't design you to survive on your own strength. He created you for relationship with Him and with people who can walk alongside you. And yet, when we're tired, when we're overwhelmed, our first instinct is often to pull away, to isolate, to try and prove we're strong enough to handle it. But the very thing that makes this season feel hard, that deep, unexplainable fatigue, isn't a sign of weakness. It's a signal. It's heaven calling your attention. This season of fatigue is not punishment. It is preparation. Read that again. Let it settle in your spirit. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. Prepared for something that requires a different kind of strength. Prepared for something new, something weightier, something more aligned with your purpose. And preparation almost always begins with a pause. Let's talk about the wilderness. In the Bible, we read about the Israelites wandering in the desert for 40 years. At first glance, it looks like punishment. But if you look closer, it wasn't. It was preparation. God had rescued them from slavery in Egypt. But before they could step into the promised land, something had to change. Their minds, their habits, their identity. They had to unlearn what captivity taught them. They had to develop trust in God's daily provision. They had to become a people who could carry the weight of the promise. And that took time. It took walking, waiting, resting, obeying, sometimes failing, then learning again. Does that sound familiar? Because right now, maybe you feel like you're in your own kind of wilderness. You're not where you used to be, but you're not quite where you want to be either. It's uncomfortable. It's stretching you. It's slow. But just like Israel, you are being shaped in the desert, strengthened in the silence, prepared through the process. It's not punishment. It's provision. God is using this slower season, this exhausted season, to build something inside you that can't be rushed. He's forming a stronger identity, a deeper faith, a clearer sense of who you are when everything else is stripped away. And yes, it's hard. Yes, you feel tired more often than not. Yes, your prayers feel quieter than they used to. But listen, just because you don't feel different yet doesn't mean God isn't doing something. Restoration doesn't always feel like revival. Sometimes it feels like stillness, like walking through a fog and learning to trust that the ground is still beneath your feet, even when you can't see it. Fatigue can be holy if it draws you closer to the only source of real strength. This season isn't about proving yourself. It's about being positioned, and you are not alone in it. Look around you. There's a community of people, some visible, some silent, who are also walking through tired seasons. People who feel the same kind of heaviness you feel. People who pray the same kinds of quiet, desperate prayers. You're not the only one. You're not the only one questioning, waiting, breathing deep just to keep going. And most importantly, you have a Father who sees all of it. You have a God who is not distant from your fatigue. He doesn't watch from far away, arms crossed, waiting for you to get it together. He's near, closer than your breath, closer than your next thought. He walks with you through the long days. He sits with you in the silent nights. He whispers to your soul even when you don't have the energy to respond. You were never meant to carry this alone, not emotionally, not mentally, not spiritually. This season may be quieter, slower, and less productive than others, but what if that's the point? What if God is removing the noise to remind you who's really holding you? What if this is the pause that makes room for real progress? What if the tiredness is the beginning of true transformation? You see, we often think God only moves when we're full of energy, when we're praying with passion, worshiping loudly, doing all the right things. But Scripture tells us again and again, He meets us in the low places, in the weakness, in the weariness. And sometimes, the most spiritual thing you can do is simply to rest. Not to quit, not to retreat in fear, but to rest, to acknowledge I don't have to hold all of this by myself anymore. God is with me. This season of fatigue, it's not the end. It's not failure. It's the groundwork for a new beginning. Something is being planted in this soil, even if you can't see it yet. Roots are growing deeper, even if the surface looks still. And you chosen one, you're being readied for something that only this kind of season can prepare you for. No one loves the wilderness. No one asks for fatigue. But on the other side of this, there's a version of you that is stronger, more grounded, and more connected to God than ever before. And you don't have to earn that version through effort. You reach it through surrender. So today, take a deep breath. Stop trying to carry it all. Let God remind you this isn't punishment. This is preparation. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not alone. You're being built. One quiet moment at a time. One slow day at a time. One faithful breath at a time. And just like He did with Israel in the desert, God is walking every step of it with you. So if you feel like you're wandering tired or unsure, remember this. Even the wilderness is sacred when God is with you. Even fatigue is useful when it teaches you to trust again. You're not done. You're not forgotten. And you were never meant to carry this alone. You are not breaking down. You are breaking through. It may not feel like it right now. In fact, everything inside you might be screaming the opposite. Your emotions might be raw. Your thoughts may feel scattered. You may be wondering why everything you built seems to be shifting all at once. But that's what it looks like right before the breakthrough. We've been taught to associate pressure with collapse. That if things feel tight, if time feels short, if energy feels low, we must be doing something wrong. But the truth is, pressure is often the very proof that something is about to be born. Ask anyone who's ever been through a midlife crisis. It doesn't start with clarity. It starts with chaos, a deep discomfort with what used to feel familiar, a sense that something is off, but you can't name it yet. For many people in midlife, it looks like waking up and realizing the job that once felt fulfilling now feels empty. The routine that used to give structure now feels suffocating. Relationships shift, passions fade, and it all feels like a breakdown. But what if it's not? What if the shaking is just the sound of something new being formed? What if this midlife moment isn't a crisis, but a calling? That's what breaking through often feels like: frustration, fatigue, and discontent, all wrapped inside the same season. You're not falling apart. You're being pulled forward. This is not your ending. This is your evolving. That word evolving is sacred. It doesn't mean abandoning who you were. It means growing into who you were always meant to become. God is not done with you. He's developing you. You are shifting from survival to significance, from reaction to revelation, from carrying burdens to carrying authority. And just like any evolution, it feels awkward before it feels aligned. Think of a butterfly. There's no graceful transition between the caterpillar and its wings. There's a season of hidden transformation. Inside the cocoon, it looks like stillness. But inside, everything is changing, restructuring, preparing. That's what your soul is doing right now. And just because no one else can see it yet, doesn't mean it's not happening. God is about to show you why you had to wait. That waiting season you resented, the pause you didn't ask for, the doors that didn't open when you knocked, the relationships that didn't last, the plans that didn't go the way you prayed, they weren't wasted. God saw what you couldn't. He saw what you were being shaped to carry. And He knew that rushing the process would only delay the purpose. Just ask Joseph. In the book of Genesis, Joseph received dreams from God as a teenager, dreams of influence, leadership, and impact. But before those dreams came true, Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. 13 years. 13 years of waiting silence, suffering, and confusion. If you looked at Joseph's life during those years, you wouldn't have seen a leader. You would have seen a man stuck, forgotten, misunderstood. You might have said he's breaking down. But he wasn't. He was being positioned. Because in one moment, just one Joseph was called out of the prison and placed into a position of power in Pharaoh's palace. And everything shifted. The years of waiting suddenly made sense. The pain had purpose. The delay was divine. And Joseph would later say to his brothers, "What you meant for harm, God meant for good." The same is true for you. What you thought was holding you back is actually what's launching you forward. What looked like rejection was really redirection. What felt like the end was actually the moment God began building something you couldn't yet imagine. You are not breaking down. You are breaking through. And here's the beautiful part. Breakthrough doesn't always mean external success. Sometimes it means internal peace. Sometimes it means waking up and realizing you no longer need validation to feel valuable. Sometimes it means seeing clearly finally what matters and what doesn't. That clarity, that strength, that deep inner calm, that is breakthrough. You're becoming someone new. Not because you're performing harder, but because you're surrendering deeper. And that's what evolving really is. Not climbing faster, but letting go more freely. Not striving to impress, but learning to rest in who God says you are. So if you're in a place where you feel the tension, where things are shifting, where nothing fits quite like it used to, take heart. This is not your ending. This is your evolving. God is not tearing you down. He's building you differently. He's calling you into a season that doesn't look like what came before. And yes, it might cost you some comfort. Yes, it might stretch your understanding. But on the other side of it, there's clarity, confidence, and a depth of purpose that can only come from walking through the hard seasons with Him. So don't mislabel what God is doing. This isn't a breakdown. This is a breakthrough. This isn't a crisis. This is a calling. This isn't the end of your story. It's the part where things start to make sense. The part where you begin to live, not just survive. The part where the pain starts revealing its purpose. The part where heaven's timing collides with your heart's readiness. Right now it might be quiet, but don't mistake quiet for empty. God is working, and soon, very soon, He's going to show you why you had to wait. What do you do when you're tired, but not yet healed? When you've heard the right words, but still feel stuck when you believe God is moving, but can't see the results yet? We don't talk about this part often. It's easier to celebrate breakthrough once it comes. But most of life isn't lived on mountaintops. It's lived in the in-between. So what now, when you're still waiting, still weary, still whispering, "God, when will this part be over?" if that's where you are? Hear me, you're not broken. You're not faithless. You're in process. And even here, God has a way forward. Here are 3 simple but powerful things you can do in this space. 1. Be still daily. Just be. Stillness feels unnatural when we're used to producing and pushing. But healing doesn't begin in hustle. It starts in presence. Matthew 11:28, "Come to me all who are weary, and I will give you rest." No conditions, no performance. Just come. Start with 5 quiet minutes. No phone, no striving. Just God. A verse, a breath, a whisper. Stillness isn't doing nothing. It's remembering you're not doing this alone. 2. Stay connected. Don't isolate. When you're tired, it's tempting to pull away. But isolation breeds lies. No one gets you. You should be stronger by now. Healing often happens in connection. A text, a prayer, showing up, letting someone stand with you. Even Jesus chose community. You need it too. 3. Anchor to truth. Speak God's word. When your mind spirals, anchor it. Isaiah 40:31 says, "Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength." You may feel weak, but speak strength. Let His promises get louder than your pressure. So what do you do in the waiting? You rest. You stay connected. You speak truth. It's not flashy, but it's holy. And healing begins here. Before we close, I want you to take one more deep breath. slow, still, present. You've heard a lot in this message. You've been reminded of who you are, what you're walking through, and more importantly, what God is doing beneath the surface. And now, it's time to let that word settle in your spirit. This isn't just something to hear once and move on from. This is something to carry, to return to rest in. So wherever you are right now, whether you're sitting on the edge of your bed, walking through the quiet of the morning, or driving home after a long day, this moment is for you. Let these next few words seal what God has already started. Let's pray. Lord, thank you. Thank you for being present in our fatigue. Thank you that tiredness is not a sign you've left us, but often a sign you're working in ways we don't yet understand. God, for every person listening right now who feels like they're on the edge of something, who feels stretched, weary, maybe even numb, I ask that you meet them right there. Wrap them in peace that doesn't need explanation. Quiet the noise in their mind. Remind them that they don't have to perform for you. They don't have to pretend. They don't have to push. They just have to be. Because you're a shepherd who restores. You're a father who cares. You're a healer who knows how to rebuild even the most exhausted soul. So God, we give you our weariness. We give you our questions. We give you our waiting. And we say, if this fatigue is part of what you're using to form us, we won't fight it. We won't fear it. We'll trust you through it. Thank you for reminding us we are not breaking down. We are breaking through. Amen. If you prayed that prayer, whether out loud or just quietly in your heart, hold on to it. Don't rush past it. Let it be a marker in your day. Because sometimes it's not about hearing something new. It's about hearing the same truth until it finally takes root. And if this message spoke to something deep inside you, come back to it. Listen again when you feel tired. Listen again when the week feels heavy. Let this be a place of realignment. Let this be a space where hope returns. You don't need a full plan right now. You don't need the energy to fix everything. You just need to remember what's already true. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. You are in process, and God is with you in every part of it. So even if your circumstances don't change today, you can still choose to receive peace. Peace in the pause. Peace in the fatigue. Peace in the not yet. And remember this, especially when your emotions start to lie to you, especially when the silence gets loud, you are not breaking down. You are breaking through. Say that to yourself today. Say it tomorrow. Write it down. Speak it over your life. Let it be the truth that steadies you when you feel overwhelmed. Let it be the line you return to when your strength feels small. You are not breaking down. You are breaking through. And what's waiting on the other side of this breakthrough piece you didn't earn. Strength you didn't force. Clarity you didn't create. It all comes from Him, and it's already on its way. So thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting this space to speak to your spirit. If you feel led, leave a prayer or a word in the comments. Not for attention, but for agreement. We're all walking through something. You never know who needs to hear what God just reminded you of. And if all you can say is, I'm tired, but I'm trusting, that's enough. Because God hears that. He honors that. And He will meet you there every time. You are not breaking down. You are breaking through. And this is only the beginning.